Have you noticed any changes in your perception of your own consciousness, of your own awareness? Have there been any changes that are really noticeable?
When we see it from the outside, I'm still a human and I'm just doing the ordinary things, living at home, eating, cleaning, washing, and those human things. But when I look inside, I think a lot has changed and I feel more connected to myself.
I felt that so much has been going on inside, although in my outer life there's not much difference. It's just a feeling. I couldn't specify what it is. I just feel that a lot is going on inside. And of course, every time I breathe, I feel much, compared to before, I feel much more connected to myself, to my soul. Like my soul now is much more personal. Before it was something far away, maybe up there, or it was much more neutral and far away in its own realm. Something's going on. And now I feel like I'm being embraced, and it's much more personal. It's like it's coming towards me. It's coming to share with me. Yeah, it's a wonderful experience to breathe with my soul, and I know that whatever is there that is bothering me, that's still repeating itself, some stupid old patterns, that the more I am with my soul, the more it will let go without me doing a lot of things about it. It's so reassuring. It's so wonderful. I'm so grateful.
My expectation after Heaven's Cross was that there would be a few months of integration and then life would be grand. And that's not been my experience. All of a sudden, there are parts of myself that are available that weren't available before. And I found that to be distressing in some ways, but also this sense of access to my own energy, that being able to listen more clearly to the song of my soul has changed in this last year, and that change is still integrating. And I feel like I describe it by saying I feel like I'm more here than I've ever been in my life. And I feel like I am larger, more present. And it's part of it is getting used to a new groove, getting used to a new flow, getting used to being willing to, I hate using this word, but allow it to happen. And that's what it's about.
Do you normally consciously connect to yourself when you need it, like when something happens? Or do you consciously do it when, okay, I'm just sitting, chilling, like doing nothing. Why don't I connect to myself? How is it for you?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be all the time, right? And that would be the ideal state. So when I do, I go have a coffee, and then just like, enjoy just like being there, and that's maybe something also to point out. It's easier now. It comes more often, where I feel like, it's me, it's my energy. It's like a conscious awareness of this is all my energy, and maybe the last year or so I felt the connection to the master is really shortened tremendously. But yeah, with my first experience of enlightenment, since then, already can see these, how you can more easier connect to your higher self, basically shorten the time of, just being fully in the human versus, observing the human, how it's upset, but then knowing, okay, the human is kind of doing its game, but you kind of just observe it basically and lean back.
I felt it's much more easier to have compassion for myself, even with things maybe there's some guilt of a thought or of something I've said or I've done. And on a good day, I can sit there and have compassion with myself. And I'm saying, yeah, you only see this small of this, what happened. If you would see it from the whole perspective, you would see there's no reason to be ashamed or feeling guilty. And I have more compassion with myself, and it's like feeling, hey, you're good. Doesn't matter, really, it doesn't matter. So this is, I felt last days, it's getting easier to be in self-love, more in self-love than before. It's going much more faster. So when I sit there, breathe a little bit, and then the mental thing goes on, and then I ask myself, so what's up with you? How do you feel really? What is really going on? And then it's much more easier to get inside. That hasn't happened before. So this
just
is
that ease of connection with yourself and
ease of
getting a
connection.
bigger perspective.
Yes.
Были ли какие-то моменты, которые ты могла четко идентифицировать как вхождение своего света?
Ну, и как я и сказала, это было волнами, и это было как состояние благодати. С одной стороны, состояние невесомости, состояние, что ты потерял вес, и с другой стороны, четкий момент, что в тебя вливается именно благодать. Вот это состояние благодати, оно было мной поймано, потому что мозг, головной мозг, разум и мой ментал молчит, наслаждается оргазмом души и сердца, потому что та благодать, которая вливалась, разливалась по телу, разливалась по моему энергоинформационному полю, было ощущение, что это, знаешь, как сухое растение, сухой цветок, который наконец-то начали поливать. И состояние блаженства не дурачка, а состояние блаженства, когда есть более глубокое соединение с душой. Человек наконец-то это чувствует на уровне сердца, что душа к нему подошла близко.
It's what we call self-love. It's that blissful feeling where just everything feels so amazing within me. Let's say I will go to the beach and then just feel such joy, just such love for myself, and it's poetically said overwhelming. You're like, wow, this is an amazing feeling. To me, that's how I also know a lot of light is coming to me, and just so expanded, totally beyond time and space. Just feels so good. That's when I know that light is really coming in. But then follows by oh shit, and then you wake up and then, the stuck aspect comes to the surface because now there's more light. But that's the cycle. So I experience it as a feeling just so good within me.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I had beginning of the year, I was in Japan, and then I nearly missed New Year's. And then I got up shortly after 12. I'm like, oh, fuck, I nearly missed it. But then it was just this beautiful experience that was totally out of nowhere for me, where I really strongly connected with myself. I was like, wow, where's this coming from? And I would identify that definitely as one of the experiences where I'm like, oh, okay, that's an effect of gravity loosening. And, it was really for me surprising, and this level, this intensity, new. So I was like, okay, I can continue on that level.
I was on the way to the supermarket. I was walking and I heard some kihak on the way. And then suddenly I had this aha moment. I heard what we had heard already 1,000 times. All the energy is yours. And then Adamus said, and the moment when you get it, when you really get it, everything will change. And I thought, I heard it about 1,000 times. And suddenly I had a glimpse of it, and I was like, oh my God. And then I had this feeling of everything is me. It's only me. It's nothing else than me. When there's no one that judges over me or maybe isn't interested in my life, it's only me. Why should I go on the way that's heavy? There's no one to impress with this. There's no one where I can get attention from. And it was so clear. So why should I choose? Why should I choose the heavy way? And it's very simple. If the human would say, okay, I let go of all these human beliefs and I let the master in, it could be from one moment to the other, could everything be fine? It's so simple. And it was a complete different way of being.
Any other instrumental understandings that used to be just like theoretical understanding of how metaphysics works that turned into very useful tools for you?
I really wanted to understand, that sounds like mental, but really get it's all my energy. One of my bucket list items, passion, deep passion of my soul, was to see the aurora borealis, to see the northern lights. I can't say why, I don't know why, but it was before I die, I absolutely want that experience. Peggy and I went to northern Sweden, inside the Arctic Circle, and 5 nights in a row, there was the most magnificent display of the aurora borealis, night after night after night. All around me, the heavens were completely lit up, scintillating and dancing and vibrating and shimmering, and every word you can use. And it was me. I got it. I got it. That was mine. That was my energy up there. That was my soul dancing. That was my light. And, for the other humans lined up watching the aurora, it was an experience they were having. But for me, I saw myself in those heavens. I saw my soul in those heavens. And I was that scintillating light. That's where it comes together. That's where the understanding of it's all your energy grounds itself. When the world outside is the same as the world inside.
And you, in general, you're a very balanced person, and you're an amazing teacher and a healer, so you know already how to be in balance. How is it different from how it was 6 months ago?
I feel it's easier to connect to my soul or to my inner light, or I also breathe with the light in the earth. I can instantly feel it in my feet when I connect to it. And and I also feel when I'm not balanced, that's my state, but sometimes things are coming up and some tears are coming or so, but I'm much more detached from it. Before I would be much more present in it, like if it was me, but it doesn't feel like that. Even if I can feel it in my whole body and it's, oh, something's going on, I know it's something going on. I'm looking at it and I'm breathing, so it can integrate. But I'm not identified with it. Yeah, and that I'm more myself and let things pass through me and integrate in whatever is there. It's not that I cannot be very sad or so, but it's not. I'm not identified with it.
I would say the mind is getting used to this new way of approaching life in the 3D, where it does not need to dictate what's going to happen next. As I say, releasing identification with, okay, I'm a boss, or I'm a father, I'm a man, I'm a traveler, I'm a spiritual person, all those identities are things that my mind loves to grab onto and hold because it helps define what it believes itself in the world. And I would say that the mind was stunned, yes, definitely, stunned into evaluating a new way of being in the world where those mental emotional loops are not directing what my response is to the world, but instead the gentle nudge, the subtle push, the potency of the feelings that come from the soul are coming in and breaking into those mental emotional loops in ways that Jerry of a year ago didn't expect.
If you have coloring in a glass of water and you just keep adding a little bit more clear water, that color gets faded and more faded. And that's what it feels like to me, analogous to, there's just a real gentle turnover in my energy from predominantly human, predominantly carbon-based, body-based, to a much more lighter, fuller, gentler feel for me. So there's a turnover, is what I'm noticing. But it's a very gentle turnover. It's not abrupt. It's not a bump and fill. It's very gentle.
Mm-hmm. Gentle meaning that it's a pleasant kind of feel also.
Oh, I didn't say pleasant. I didn't say that. Sometimes it's painful, but it's not abrupt. It's not jarring. It's a slow, kind of almost a methodical turnover in my energy, like a slow boil, a simmer, not a raging boil. No, it's sometimes quite painful. Sometimes it's quite achy to the body, to the human, kind of achy. But it's also a gentle process that I feel right now.
Have there been moments where you would feel that, okay, this is definitely gravity changing? When you could feel that difference in gravity, however you define it.
it was easier this time, but it feels like my whole reality is like crumbling. It's just all the structures within and outside are just, they're just dismantling totally. And so it's very disorienting. And I experienced it also in the sense that my sense of self kind of vanished in a way. It's so difficult to put into words. And I don't really necessarily understand like mentally what happens in such an experience, but I just experienced this disorientation, and I guess one could label it as such, that Adamus talks about as psychic death. He talks about this experience of psychic death when the Akasha releases, and I had this experience of like 10,000 kilos of nothingness hitting me, like this total Zen moment, and it felt like emptying out. Difficult to say like what, like it just felt empty. And after that, there was this intensification of old issues coming up. And it's been confusing, because it's like, well, if the Akasha is releasing and all that, and then these old issues are coming up, and and so I guess it's better not to really, think on it too much. Just allow, breathe through, trust, because it's just something releasing.
После того, как мы очередной раз с тобой записались, настроение было великолепнейшее. И к вечеру наступил момент такой какой-то внезапной депрессии. Это не вопрос, что там я не хочу жить, или у меня начали появляться суицидальные мысли. Нет, это был момент какого-то резкой потери интереса, абсолютное обесточивание энергетическое тела. Было огромное желание лечь на кровать. И вот наступил момент, как будто бы мастер вошел в тело, и при этом есть мощнейшее масштабное наблюдение меня, вот как будто бы произошел разрыв. Да, мастер отдельно, человек отдельно. И этот момент того, что я лежу на кровати и четко понимаю, что я в безопасности, то, о чем говорил Адамус, что наступает момент, когда вы в любом случае умрете. То есть вот этот опыт смерти, не буквально биологической смерти, но его нужно, смерти там, личности с отключением личности от старых функций и функциональности от старой функциональности, именно связанной с физическим телом, он должен произойти, этот опыт. И вот момент, с одной стороны, ясность мастера, ясность сознания происходящего, с другой стороны, действительно наступает момент, когда ты понимаешь, что твое тело умирает. Ощущение четкое смерти с замедлением частоты сердечных сокращений, то есть уровень именно удара в минуту. Четко ощущалось, что происходит снижение. И вот постепенное погружение именно в настоящую такую физическую смерть. И я могу сказать, что это было абсолютно комфортно. Я хочу также добавить, что, как говорится, головной мозг, разум и интеллект, он в этот момент молчал. Почему? Потому что присутствие мастера, присутствие сознания ощущалось очень четко и хорошо. Это, конечно же, дало вот именно такое вот ощущение, подушку мудрости, да, что нет никаких рисков, нет никаких не только рисков, а даже нет никакой тревожности или беспокойства в происходящем. Дальше, я думаю, это, наверное, было, как и у всех, такой момент тоннеля. Ты летишь в тоннеле, летишь долго, прикольно, кайфово. Почему? Потому что нет гравитации, ты резко вдруг выходишь из гравитационной составляющей Земли, летишь, в конечном итоге перед тобой раскрывается красивейшее такое облако света, невероятно ослепляющее. И дальше, конечно же, я ничего не помню, я заснула. Что я четко осознавала? Я не могу вернуться к прошлое себя. У меня абсолютно отключены все функции. Как вставать, как кушать, как передвигаться, как говорить. То есть личность Людмилы, Люси была отключена. И повторить то, к чему я привыкла, то, что я делала ежедневно, было практически невозможно. Вот реально раз, и произошло такое, знаешь, отсоединение. Значит, как себя вел мозг? Мозг, в том-то и дело, то, о чем говорил и Адамус, и Тобиас, мозг заткнись, разум заткнись. Наконец-то, конечно же, и после смерти он заткнулся, и после выхода этой личности он заткнулся.
От себя сейчас какое ощущение? Вот в целом, как ты себя чувствуешь вообще, как ты...
И, наконец-то, человеку предоставляется возможность освободиться от всего того, что мы на себя взяли, как я уже говорила, освободиться от сексуального вируса, от аспектов, от печати, от наследственной биологии, от атлантических ободков. Но вот это неверие в свободу, оно все равно оставалось. До конца человек поверить, что он свободен, он не мог. Вот именно с моментом умирания и высвобождения, наконец-то, момент контакта души, да, и тела, и человека произошел, и, наконец-то, начинается загрузка осознавания того, что ты свободен. И вот здесь возникает, конечно же, ощущение невероятного оргазма души. Почему? Потому что уже не надо ни с чем бороться, не надо ничего высвобождать. Наконец-то можно стать стандартом. А мы не знаем, что такое стандарт. Мы знаем, что такое травма, исцелять себя. Мы знаем, что такое игра в долгий процесс исцеления, освобождения. Но что такое реальная свобода и именно наступление фазы свободного Творца, творения того, чего никогда ты не мог произвести на планете Земля как человек, вот этот момент, конечно же, ошеломляет.
Before it was, I knew we're not humans in the first place. I knew it here, but I had this resistance that it's true. And 1.5 months ago, I sat at the kitchen table after breakfast and feeling in, like going into silent mode, like nearly every day. And suddenly there was only a glimpse of a feeling being not the human being, a spiritual being. And that was the first time I could feel that it's not important to be human, to have this human experience. It's a nice thing, but my identification was clearly being a non-physical being. And it was not just a thought, it was only a glimpse of this true nature of me. And since then, everything starts to change and it unfolds, and that's the point where I can suddenly make choices. Even there's an aspect I can say, no, you're just it's all an illusion.
I think my largest breakthrough was feeling that this 3D is an illusion more and more. I think when I was just looking outside in nature, looking at the scenery outside, which is quite beautiful, but when I felt into it, I can feel that I am here and there. But it's not through the eyes, but the eyes, what I perceive from the eyes help, but it's from inside, like getting melding together. And yes, that really triggered my abilities, that I can feel that this is not real. This 3D world is not. It is real and not real, not the only thing. Yes.
It's not about getting away from the human as much as it is embracing more fully my humanness. At one time, I thought it was transcending the human, but it feels very much like all of those aspects of my humanity that have been difficult, or I've judged, or are the judging parts, the fearful parts, the doubting parts, they're all me. I was able to, I would say, integrate more of what it means to be fully human. And in that, there's a deep listening to what is happening on a soul level.
I spend a lot of lifetimes, I think that's a Shambhar curse, is taking care of others. I was babysitting the world for eons. Didn't we all?
And also battling, probably.
No, me. Yes. Funny you say that. Totally forgot about it. Yeah, I mean, obviously. So battling and taking care of everybody. I never really did things truly for me. Like, it would always have some agenda that I'm saving somebody, I'm being a hero, somewhere, trying to make sure ISIS loves me, in some way, to be accepted by something outside. So the passion comes from like, whoa, how, even for the human, obviously soul is always in that passion, but even human is tired. My human is like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of hearing myself talk bullshit. Like, soul, come here, you talk, you do things. I'm fucking tired. I'm just gonna go for a ride. Soul is like so ecstatic that he's finally experiencing the life on Earth the way it never did. But it couldn't do it before. The reality was so dense. I mean, soul wasn't able to be in this reality like it is now. So it's exciting. It's like, finally, man, like I finally can go and talk and do things that I can dance on the aisles. I can talk about enlightenments in a coffee shop. I can do all these things and I don't get killed. I don't get crucified, judged, or anything. I can just be me. So the gravity is in a way it's much easier to be in gravity than before. It's just I wasn't able to be connected to my soul. So there is this passion, finally being able to exist in this world as a soul. Like, that's almost a new thing.
I feel like the spirit and heart are really coming to the forefront in the way that on the human level, there's not much room for any kind of compromise anymore around any life circumstance or area. So everything is coming really like together, and yeah, that's how I feel it.
That is so interesting, and it's very masterly. That's one of those things that Adamus was describing as a sign of a master. You do not compromise. Years ago, now he repeated it. If you're saying that spirit and heart are coming to the forefront, I have a, maybe it's a trick question, maybe it isn't. Adamus, for the longest time, have been saying those things like when somebody asks him about, well, how about the heart? And he says things like, heart pumps blood. That's what heart does. What's your take on it? Now that you're saying that heart is coming to the forefront, and along with the spirit, how would you describe it in more detail, that feeling, that experience?
Everything sort of needs to be aligned, not through the human lens or the human perception, but things just stem from where they actually originate from. Very unfiltered. And this shows up in the human life. And this is to me what love is also. This certain lens or perception through which things kind of flow and show up in the human life, and me being an open, say, vessel for all my own energies and emotions, and that life force energy to flow through, and I'm carrying it and without projecting it outside of myself. And so no games, no feeding, none of that that's just a no-go. But this doesn't mean it's super easy. And it takes a lot of heart, and it takes a lot of this heart sort of courage and self-trust, because it can mean that sometimes a conflict comes up. And so when the heart comes to the forefront, it's about clarity and compassion.
I love all those things that you say about aligned, unfiltered, about not trying to adjust, because that's what happens when you are in the flow. Then you don't have to adjust. Then they are aligned. Then you do not have to filter, because everything that is coming, it is coming in exact alignment with who you are, right? So you're feeling that graceful flow.
Like one of the shifts that I'm noticing is, starting to trust in my own energy a little bit more. Like that used to be super difficult for me. And I've noticed that increasing.
And when you have that feeling, trusting your own energy, or when you don't have it, how does it express itself?
Yeah, so when I don't trust, it comes in as worries or fear about the future, mostly. And when there is that trust, it's that feeling of clarity, being very clear about like what I choose for myself, like choosing to live in joy, and even though there might be areas in my life where I'm not experiencing that at the moment, having that trust that it's gonna come in, and things are shifting and moving.
I'd say the insight is to have patience. That there are changes happening for me that are very deep and very, very potent. But the integration is happening as fast as my human can handle it. And that if I'm impatient, it actually pushes that allowing away from me.
Yeah, it's a great insight that we need patience. The tricky part is, how does one have patience?
I feel like the impatient parts of myself that have gotten in my way have been the parts that impatience is rooted in poor self-esteem, in doubt, in guilt and shame of just demanding that it be different. And the patience to realize that those things do not have to guide my life anymore. They do not have to be in the driver's seat anymore. I can let go of that control, is where I notice that patience is born. It's a place of being kind to myself and saying, well, it's not working, but I know more than I knew before. And I think there's a clarity with that is creating a different kind of resonance, if I can use that word, of me being in the world, of just being willing to just be the light that I am, and not trying to invent some version of myself based on some mental construct, but just breathing it in and saying, okay, this is what we're doing.
So I'm just wondering, your soul, what does it feel it wants to put her energy into, in terms of like a...
That's a great question. I'll tell you why. Because somebody who was doing things for eons. Like I was never being. I was always doing stuff. I was always on a mission. My soul only wants to be, and that's what's hard for my mind. It's really hard. It's hard for my masculine part to just be. But lately, I love sitting and just communing myself and getting more of my non-physical self coming into my body. Like I can actually feel in the body. Like that's my new passion. I'm like, wow! Like I can actually feel it in my body. I experience it right now as like, my mind would get. I can see how my mind is changing, and I can feel the pressure in my mind when I'm really in that space where soul is coming in more. Like that's a new passion. Like, whoa, what's gonna happen to the body and how it's gonna look like, and how much more light can I bring in? That's really the new passion. My Marco would obviously, he has different opinion, but he's tired, so that's good. So the good thing is he's tired. So then it's easier now, and he's getting more and more of trust. The cool thing about the mind is that the more I'm being and in just really enjoying myself, the more I'm being, it's so weird that things really work out. Like even in my business, like it's just things work out, and it's like, mine is getting slowly to really get the trust that it actually works. Physics works.
When you are feeling that, okay, this must be my light coming in, do you do anything to help that process?
So my mind is trying to replicate those situations, then but it doesn't work, right? It's basically you cannot replicate it. It's just suddenly it comes, and then go with that. And I mean, there's this mind is kind of, okay, that's what I did. Let's try to replicate that, right? And then, do you see the balloons? What was that? That's like my light. I think that was my light coming in.
What were the most impactful insights for you this past year? Any breakthroughs that you had?
I wouldn't call it an insight, but breakthrough is, it's actually the topic of self-love. I mean, this is what this whole journey has been about, truly, is love. So to start having those experiences in an embodied way. For example, like, because in my early 20s, I had several experiences of, do you want to call it like cosmic consciousness or pure awareness, where I was fully merged with my divinity for a moment. And that feeling is so indescribable, but it's a kind of like beyond love, full-blown unconditional love. And the love was like, it was so big, it was filling the entire universe. It was very difficult to even remember that feeling on this human level. So I had a few of those glimpses that that's possible. But to integrate some of that self-love in the human form is a whole different story.
What do you feel is the main reason that, okay, it's not working out to walk in that feeling all the time?
Like when I went through that experience, I was halfway into death. Like I literally had the option to leave. It was almost like a near-death experience. So I was very disconnected from my human self in that moment. And when I came back, there was such a discrepancy between my human frequency
level of consciousness versus that state, that not true state of me, the gap was so enormous. So of course it's not like you need to raise the vibration, the frequency of your human self to be able to allow that sort of consciousness, without immediately dying.
And when I was talking to Yeshua about it and asking about why that flow of self-love was not there all the time, what he said to me was that he gave me that metaphor of or kind of an allegory of a river, and if there is a flow, but he said if you have too many obstacles, if you have big boulders there, then the flow is still kind of there, but it has a hard time flowing. So
yeah,
you need to kind of remove. You don't need to create that flow. You don't need to do anything about the flow. All you need is just to remove something that gets in the way.
That's a nice way of describing it. Yeah. So now after Heaven's Cross, I've started to have more of these experiences of like, it feels a bit like falling in love, but sometimes it doesn't require any other person. Like, it's just kind of falling in love with myself, with just without having any external trigger for that feeling. Just feeling this wave of love. It's like kind of this love wash, liquid love flowing through me, and it's kind of a bubbly feeling, like champagne bubbles and butterflies in my stomach. But it's just because I feel connected to my soul. So to start feeling that kind of self-love in such a physical and at the same time really like multidimensional way has been really special, that it's finally becoming real. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm just opening the door. Like, there's so much more to allow when it comes to self-love, and so much more to explore with that.
What were your biggest insights or breakthroughs in the past year?
And I bet you're going to hear this a lot. Love 2.0. I mean, that was such a huge aha. I love that material. I've listened to it multiple times, but Love 2.0, just that deep, deep love that supersedes the common connection that people have with each other. This is just, it's groundbreaking. It's life-changing. And then on top of that, we followed it up with Light 2.0, right? And then Joy 2.0. And ultimately, it's Maggie 2.0. I think for me, I finally understood that it's all about me. That was such a hard concept, that everything in my world is all about me, and Heaven's Cross was my Heaven's Cross. The apocalypse is my apocalypse, not a universal apocalypse, not a national or international apocalypse. It's my apocalypse. It's all my love, my creation, my gift to myself. It was mind-blowing when it really sunk in that there's only me.
If I were to say what was the biggest leap for me in the last year and a half, is being in my own energy, 100%. Obviously, I would have moments where I don't, but at least it reminds me to snap back into the place where I belong, which is my own energy. So yeah, it was me enjoying my energy, and I really mean that. That was like a big leap for me, and because I truly didn't know that that's what real love for yourself is. You know, you think like, oh, I'll do Aliyah all fucking day and I'll whatever, buy myself whatever brand new. I mean, yes, sure, that all is kind of what we think of it. What is the self-love? But no, self-love to me, again, to me, another level of realization of that is being in my energy, and what is that, and then loving my energy. You know, like I'm trying to, when I'm in that space, to really feel do I like love my energy? Do I love this moment? And if I don't, then I and it's okay. That's the part where I'm learning not to judge the human. It's okay if this moment sucks, but at least I know this is not my energy. You know, maybe it was 5 years ago, maybe, but not anymore. So that it's love for myself. That's what I really was enjoying the most.
You know, there's ideas I had of what mastery would be, or what would I look like as a master, or realization, all those things. And what I've discovered is that the feeling of mastery, it's a very quiet joy. It's a very quiet place of wholeness and stillness that I find it just easier to engage that in myself. It's like things are going to happen. Things are going to come up, you know, but it doesn't mean that I'm not being masterly. You know, oh, if I was a true master, I would never hurt myself. Well, no, that's not what this is about. It's about fully embracing the human no matter what happens while I'm in this body, and remembering my divinity while I'm in the body. It just seems like the most important thing for me.
But there was this product that came out years and years ago. It was like Master's Life Sensuality or something like this. And I started back then, that triggered the experience of like, oh, I really could sense myself as energy, and everything is energy. So that was a pathway for me to realize how everything is my energy, and everything is a manifestation of my energy. And yet I couldn't really understand how to command that energy and how not to be a victim of that energy, or like, and it's been this beautiful process of discovery too. And I feel I'm somehow more grounded into these multi-dimensional layers at the same time, like everything being together, the master, the I am, the soul, if you will, life itself, just life itself, and the expression of life, and this human form, and the energetic layer of everything. So it's just everything's together, and it can be experienced at the same time or simultaneously. So I guess I'm more grounded into that now.
While listening to you, I thought that it's such an important point for somebody to distinguish between just kind of enjoying something versus going through experience with expectations. Because when you have expectations, it's harder to enjoy, because something is not complying with your expectations.
Exactly.
But somebody who goes with the curiosity, and some crap happens, and the person like, oh, look at this, or something is absolutely ugly or so different from what you're used to. You just get curious about it because it's different, and you are in discovery. So that those expectations, that this journey, especially already into the mastery and like navigating through your realization, when we have expectations, it's not going to be enjoyable. It's so important.
No, because the expectations come from the human mind. And when you're in your spirit, when you actually experience from the spirit as the foreground, everything is a discovery, and it is curious, and it is sometimes shitty, but that's part of the experience. So I think that's a beautiful how you phrased it. It's so beautiful, because that's such a perfect like anecdote to how or just how to say, it's such a perfect way to crystallize what this journey is all about. It's discovery, and it doesn't work with expectations. And of course, we're bound to have some expectations as humans until we necessarily don't, because it gets peeled back. The mental approach to things, this human template. Oh, I'm a human experiencing this, instead of I'm a spirit in this human template experiencing this. And so that makes it so multidimensional.
Okay, you are being viewed by Shaumbra or by people who just happen to come across this material. Any words for the viewers? Anything that you would like to share with those who are about to go deeper into exploring their own energy? What would you share with them?
Well, thanks for watching. I think anybody who watches this is already on that journey, right? To self-realization and looking to these energies. But wherever you are, it's just, it's so worth it, just accepting that everything is your energy and going from there and experience life. It takes sometimes feels like taking a leap, but it's definitely you don't always have to know why you do certain things. Just follow your intuition and do it. Yeah.
My final words for you would be that should you have any difficulties or I don't know moments like I used to have, I still do. Just find a safe space, be in your safe space, and look at what's happening from a different perspective. It might not come at that moment, but it should. I believe it will. I think find a good Shaumbra friend. Maybe it doesn't have to be a Shaumbra, but a person that understands, and have just talking with them really helps. Yes, and yeah.
Maybe they would like to breathe and be open to just feel the breath in the nose, feel the breath coming all the way down to the navel, and feel the breath going out, and just know that with every breath you are coming closer to your own soul, to your own self, to your own feeling of who you are. And if there's anything coming up, all these aspects that are funny and strange and interfering, that the more you breathe, of course they will come up, but there's always so much help in it. I mean, anything you experience, breathe with it, and that will really help. It's accumulating change, things. It's accumulating that things are coming up, but the breath, the breathing, the presence of the soul is still much more. So you will always have comfort from it, and I know it from all the clients that I have had, that breathing, and especially breathing together, it creates a room. When you're with another person, breathing with that person, it even enhances this sensitivity is enhanced. You are much more clear when you breathe with somebody else. So it changes the situation.
There's importance of kindness, certainly to myself, because it opens the door for compassion, and the soul is an infinite source of compassion. I would say a willingness to be patient with how it's evolving. And there's a sense of communion with self that can be done on a planetary basis. That's going to create a beautiful world that we can hardly imagine. And that's a dream worth having. And that's my dream.
Что я могу сказать? Конечно же, отношения между сознанием и энергией в тот момент, когда к тебе подходят черные твои темные аспекты, ты в эту секунду об этом забываешь. Ты веришь в маленького человека, который стоит там на коленях или упал в лужу и обмазался весь в грязи каждый раз, потому что эта энергия, она невероятно сокрушительна. Особенно если мы говорим, когда подходит дракон, да, и начинает вычищать все то, что находилось в жутких долгих завалах, что является ложным, да, ветряными мельницами, иллюзиями и ложными системами ценностей. И, конечно же, еще раз я могу сказать, что ты веришь в то, что существует вне тебя что-то гораздо сильнее. И в этот момент понимания отношений между сознанием и энергией, твоей энергией, именно абсолютно потеряно. Поэтому я бы хотела, конечно же, сказать, что бы ни происходило в эту секунду, когда вы стоите на коленях, когда вы находитесь глубоко в грязной луже, не переставать верить в тот уникальный свет, который вы несете, который сожгет любую, как говорила Дамус, гравитацию, любой черный аспект, любое обстоятельство и любую силу вовне. Вот этот момент очень важен, потому что как только ты теряешь эту связь с собой, со своей божественностью, со своим светом, конечно же, игра разворачивается совершенно неблагоприятно против тебя. И в эту секунду, когда это с вами происходит, в процессе интеграции своих темных аспектов, освобождения от всех тех слоев, которые мы на себя накрутили, ни в коем случае не терять веру в себя, в свой свет и в свое сознание. Я есть, что я есть, я существую. Это очень важный момент. Иначе игра никогда не закончится.
My experience is that suffering ends when you stop resisting anything. That's the end of suffering. When you don't resist anything anymore, you just allow it. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel grief. It's okay to feel sadness. It's okay to feel anger, whatever. But when you have like this mental construct around it, like what is good experience and what is bad, and what, then you're in the human template very deeply, and then you're bound to suffer. But when there's this love around your human experience, whatever it is, that's when it transforms. But it doesn't mean that you have to somehow be like this Zen being. You can feel whatever. Just trust your experience. That's my that's my second advice. Like trust whatever you're experiencing, like trust fiercely. Just trust fiercely. The trust doesn't come with a condition. Yeah, I can trust when I know it's gonna work out. No, just trust it. It is gonna work out. Yeah, that's my fierce parting words.
You know, for anybody who's going through struggles, I feel like there's so many good things waiting for us. And I don't see that as like a carrot that Adamus is dangling, but I truly know that that's where we're headed. So I'm like, please stay here, everyone. It's just gonna get better. And what I experienced through this project is how helpful it is to share with other masters and to be seen also by other masters. It's like a two-way thing, like when you express yourself, you're seen, and when you're seen, then you remember yourself also more about who you are. And, you know, if anybody gets the chance to, you know, share with others, to speak as a master, take it, you know, because it's such a wonderful way of remembering who you are.
I think that somebody just stepping into their own spirituality, for a lack of a better word, you know, is going to struggle because they want to struggle. They're going to study. They're going to seek out teachers and gurus. They're going to take workshops. They're going to spend volumes of money, swallow tons of vitamins and supplements, do intermittent fasting. They're going to put themselves through so much. And at the end of the day, they didn't need to. The pain, the suffering, the sacrifice, the struggle, all for the, you know, for the goal of being spiritual, being something. And chances are other people are going to do the exact same thing. And if I had any wisdom at all to share, it would be, stop it. Stop. Trust the process. Enjoy your life. Have a glass of wine. Just relax.
Okay. I am going to tell you the same thing that my future self just told me. Because it is meant for me, but I also think it's going to be useful for everybody. Just sit back and relax. I know it was probably the most intense year of all of the lifetimes. And people can throw tomatoes at me and be like, fuck you. What do you mean relax? I'm going through shit. I know. And I hear you. I feel you. I felt the same. I can go with all these wise words, but that's all bullshit. I think, you know, this whole era of wise words and lectures and, you know, I think it's coming to an end, and it's going to transform into some art and passion, and it's not going to really, that spirituality is not going to be on the outside, it's going to be inside. Just be with yourself.
Do you remember Staying in Grace when everything started? The small song I made?
I do remember. I have a video.
Yes. So the last line.
Yay!
The last line is, nothing's broken at all. Well, that's other words for everything, all is well in all of creation. And you can't, if you say it just from the human perspective, it's not so true, and it doesn't make good feelings. But when you go on Angel's Peak, on the divine perception, then you realize nothing's broken at all. It never was. Grace is togetherness. We stay in grace from now. We're choosing grace, and it's wonderful. Nothing's broken at all. Bum, 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 bum. Grace is togetherness. We stay in grace from now. We're choosing grace, and it's wonderful. Nothing's broken at all.